I felt out of place everywhere I went. Different countries, different people, and the feeling didn't change. I used to think that it was the place, was my surroundings, the people. But looking back, now that I can look back because I'm in another stage of my life, I understood something about me, and it's, you know, I left places to try to belong. So that was kind of my problem. I wanted to belong so bad that when I didn't have that feeling of belonging, I would just go for the next, for the next, for the next. So that it turned on 8 years of having a very nomadic lifestyle because I was chasing something external to me to be able to be accepted. I was born in China, where I didn't have any stability at all, where I felt rejected since probably the moment that I was born. And then at the age of, well, it's not really sure about that, but something more sure, it's at the age of 6, I was moved to Spain. What happened is I didn't feel safe in this new environment because I didn't know the people. I didn't know what was going on. I was just too young to understand what was going on with myself. My body didn't feel safe. So this feeling of feeling out of place was a constant pattern in my life. However, when after I went to university and I graduated, I left Spain and then I went to Canada, and that feeling of feeling out of place stopped it for a while because I felt like somehow people were not judging me so much for how I was looking, because imagine being in a Spanish society, an Asian girl like me. So the looking, it was a big influence for me to not feeling that I was fit in there, because that was my belief. It was, oh, I don't fit in. There's something wrong with me. And I tried to adapt to that society, to try to the culture, to adapt to everything all the time. So I was the most flexible, adaptable person ever, but I was losing myself because I didn't know who I was anymore. In Canada, this was a bit better because I was in an area of Canada where there's so many Asian lookings, but as well more westernized. So I felt, well, maybe this is my place, because I felt more like I could belong there, that I could fit in there. But then the feeling of there was something that was not completely, it was not like a 100% match for me to be there, that I was, oh, I fit in here, I belong here. It was not like that. So I kept going, and I kept going to somewhere else and meeting new people, new experiences That was all my life, new experiences, just to try to fulfill that part of me that I was not able to. And then I started with my self-discovery journey, where I realized that, well, after so many years moving around, having every kind of different experience that one person could have in their lifetime, I'd had it at 26, you know? It was just like what normal people, let's say, okay, what is normal, but let's say in the average, in a 1 year, most of the people have like 2-3 changes maximum, like big changes in their lives. I had 100. So it was so stimulating, exhausted. At some point, you know, like I was feeling, well, I'm so adaptable, I'm so flexible, I can do anything, which it was true. I can do anything, and I can still believe that I can do anything, but at the cost of what? What was the opportunity cost here? For me was, my body was exhausted. I didn't know who I was anymore. I still have that feeling that this feeling of feeling out of place all the time. Until, you know, at some point you realized maybe what I needed, it was to have this not only external stability, which is something I'm actually right now working on, but also internal stability myself. Like, don't try to be accepted from outside, but accept myself for who I am. Not trying to fit in, but just be me and build that life I want, build my community, build the things that I want, create that, instead of adapt myself to fit in and to be accepted for another people, environment, culture, society, whatever. You know, that inner and that change in my life and everything, you know, I feel like, well, as well, because I've read a lot of books about healing or personal growth, development and self-development, trying to, because I thought that there was something wrong with me that I had to fix, so I tried to fix myself, and which I don't have anything wrong with myself, and I'm completely fine. I don't need to be fixed. I just need to be me and slow down to be able to see, to return back, to getting back to who I am and who I want to be, and knowing myself. That was my thing. I didn't know myself, so I was just getting lost in others people's priorities, lives, lifestyles, thoughts, ways to live, and you know, I'm creating my own life. I'm building my own path. I'm slowly, step by step, I'm getting back to who I am, and I think that's beautiful. It's beautiful to after so many years of being lost, not knowing who I was or what I wanted, and looking for that external approval and acceptance, to accept myself, to belonging is a feeling, and feeling that I belong to myself, I belong, and this inner stability of knowing that I will be fine no matter what, because this is what I've done all my life. I lived in survival when I was a kid, and as a kid with no tools, no resources, no knowledge, I was able to make it through. I was able to make it through. Now, with all this growth, knowing who I am and what I want and who I'm becoming, who it's fine. You know, sometimes I feel like we just need this reminder that it's gonna be fine. And yes, sometimes we feel out of place, we feel that we don't fit in somewhere, but it's not about them, it's about us and how we feel about ourselves. Thank you very much, and I hope that you enjoyed this 10 minutes